couldn't see this taking more than like 10, 15 minutes.
All right, you're the host now.
Hold on. Okay, yeah, Eric, you should be the host now.
Okay, I think it says I'm screen sharing. Can you all see? Nobody here to ask questions or anything like?
Yeah, that's what happens. It's about a 30-second delay, so on YouTube.
Yeah, that was my bad. It popped up on my other tab.
Okay, cool.
So we're live now, Eric, just so you know.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Randy. So we're here for the public meeting for the Irving Avenue reconstruction between Vermont Street and New Street, and the changing of Irving Avenue from one way between New Street and York Street. The purpose of this meeting is to describe the project, to obtain any comments, concerns, or suggestions from the public, and to just go over some basic information of the project so that anybody who wants can voice their concerns. This is an electronic meeting due to the COVID-19 crisis. So we've extended the comment period of 5 days after this meeting to allow anybody who has any comments or questions to email the clerk, Randy Heuser, and we will answer any questions or address any comments, that if they're sent within 5 days. So I'm going to run through the scope of the work, the goals of the project, and we're just going to go through it one at a time. Again, if there's any questions or comments, they can be emailed to Randy Heuser from 5 days after this meeting. So the goals of the project are to, can you all see my screen share okay, Randy?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. The goals of the project are to improve traffic flow, to enhance safety, especially at the intersection, to improve the condition of the roadway pavement, which is heavily deteriorated, and enhance pedestrian and bicycle safety due to the lack of sidewalk and or any bicycle lanes on Irving Avenue right next to the Metro. The scope of the work is to reconstruct Irving Avenue from Vermont Street to New Street and provide a one-way road, northbound only. The reason for the one-way road is due to the narrow intersection at Vermont Street and the need to fit both a roadway and a sidewalk there. We'll be installing new curb, new sidewalk, new bicycle facilities, including shared lanes and dedicated bike lanes where the width allows. That's between Vermont Street and New Street. In between New Street and York Street, we'll be doing parkway improvements to remove the asphalt parkways, landscape and beautify them with new trees, and we'll be restriping it for one-way northbound. For this project right-of-way, that is property acquisition, will need to be acquired at adjacent properties on the west side between Vermont Street and New Street. Further on in this presentation, I'll show you all an aerial view with the expected right-of-way needs, expected property needs for the project. And again, if there's any comments about this, they can be emailed to the clerk after the meeting. Temporary easements, so that's temporary property acquisition will also be needed to construct the project on the west side between Vermont Street and New Street for driveway replacements. I'm going to quickly go through what the new roadway is going to look like. We have one-way northbound traffic. We have southbound and northbound bike lanes or shared lanes, depending on the width of the roadway. And then we'll have a sidewalk on the west side, which will connect, whereas previously is unconnected between New Street and Vermont Street. North of that section, we'll have a little bit more parkway, but the setup's essentially the same with bike lanes, northbound traffic, and a sidewalk with a little bit of a parkway here because the width is wider. The project schedule, this is a federal project, so the schedules can be fairly drawn out, and this is an estimate as this project requires right-of-way or property acquisition. These are estimates only, but we'd be hoping to finish phase 1 this year, phase 2 next year, phase 3, which is construction, will take between 2 and 4 months. So the schedule heavily depends on the acquisition of the property and of concurrence from the Illinois Department of Transportation. So the goals of the project will be to reconstruct Irving Avenue. One of the things we wanted to point out is there will be a detour in place during construction because of the narrow width of the roadway. The road is expected to be completely closed during construction, I'll show you the map of the detour later, and that will get further reviewed by IDOT as the project goes along. So this is just, again, the little bit of details on the project schedule. Today's our public meeting, hoping to have phase 1 design approval in December, and then phase 2 through 2020, 2021. The total construction budget is $376,000, and the project's being paid for with a combination of Federal Highway Administration funds, Regional Transportation Authority funds, and City of Blue Island corporate funds. I'm going to go through quickly a set of frequently asked questions. All this information we can make available. Just email the clerk and we can send you an email of this copy, or somehow we can get it to you. If you don't use email, we can get you paper copies, whatever works. Just let us know. And anyway, some frequently asked questions. The goal of the project is to reconstruct Irving Avenue between Vermont Street and New Street. Basically, we're trying to make the intersection safer. There's some issues with the gates. Southbound traffic can approach on Irving Avenue and not even encounter any gates before the Metro track crossings, and we're trying to eliminate that movement to make it safer for motorists and for pedestrians too, because currently there's no bicycle or pedestrian facilities, which forces people out onto the road at the intersection right next to the train station. Next question is, how will my property be affected by the improvement? We're expecting property to be needed on the west side for construction and for permanent facilities. So for the sidewalk, basically on the west side. This isn't expected to have any real impact on any of the structures, but property will be required to be bought for this project. Okay, so we're going to go through aerial exhibits. This is how will I know if my property will require any permanent right-of-way or temporary easement for construction. We'll go through some aerial exhibits later, and you'll see the affected properties. We also did mailings through Robinson Engineering in the clerk's office to all the affected property owners and all the affected agencies, as this is right next to the Metro tracks. So all the affected property owners should have got a letter in the mail already with all of these details, but we'll also show you them later here. These improvements, as we spoke of before, the construction cost is expected to be around $376,000. Project will be paid for with Federal Highway Administration funding, RTA funding, and the City of Blue Island funding. Construction will be starting depending on the approval of the engineering phase 1 and phase 2. So we're hoping for construction following the phase 1 in 2021, 2022. How is safety being approved in this project? Number one, we're trying to eliminate the crossing movements across the Metro tracks that are not currently protected by any gates. And then number two, we're trying to improve the safety for pedestrians by providing them a dedicated sidewalk and bike lanes and or shared lanes. So they have a dedicated area right next to this train station too. So why are on-street bike lanes proposed along Irving Avenue instead of a separate shared use path? By shared use path, we're talking about a wider asphalt bike path that people may have seen along the CalSag Trail recently constructed, or along Canal Street, just south of the CalSag channel. And the reason why we're doing bike lanes here is basically because of available space. Anybody familiar with the area will know that it's a very narrow roadway, especially right at the intersection of Vermont Street and Irving. What are the next steps? This meeting is one of our prerequisites for getting phase 1 design approval from the Illinois Department of Transportation. So we're seeking approval for preliminary engineering and environmental studies. We'll be preparing a set of detailed plans and construction plans during phase 2, and then we'll be preparing with the city's real estate attorneys the plats of highways and all the legal property documentation needed to acquire the properties needed for the project. Drainage will be improved by the project, number one, by constructing new storm sewer, and number two, by constructing curb and gutter. If you're familiar with the roadway, it currently just has aggregate shoulders, so stone shoulders, but we're going to upgrade that to concrete curb and gutter. Again, if you have questions about this project, we're going to keep the official public record open for another 5 days, so anybody can email, call, or mail a physical letter to the clerk's office at Blue Island. So Mr. Randy Heuser, City Clerk, 708-597-8603, or email Randy Heuser, RHEUSER at cityofblueisland.org. And from the clerk's office and from Robinson, even if that 5 days were expired, I mean, it wouldn't become part of this permanent meeting record, but you can always contact us if you do have any questions. This is just a location map of the project. We have the Metro Railroad to the south, the Vermont Street Station. This is Irving Avenue, Vermont Street, New Street, and York Street. So location of the project. This is the detour route. I'm not going to go into the detour route in great detail here. This still gets subject to IDOT approval during phase 2. Number 1, to approve all the signage and all the details of the detour route. And number 2, because during phase 2, they'll make sure that this is coordinated with any adjacent construction. For example, like if this were to be this year, they would want to coordinate this with the Western Avenue Bridge replacement. But the main takeaway from this exhibit for this detour route is that the roadway is expected to be closed during construction due to the narrow width. Okay, here we have an aerial view of the project area. This is, I should point out, north is pointing to the right. Here we have the Metro South parking facilities, New Street, Vermont Street. You can see the Vermont Street Metro Station just to the south. And this is the intersection we're talking about. So this is an aerial view with the projects, with the project reconstruction kind of painted on top for a aesthetic idea of what this is going to look like. You see there's one-way northbound traffic. You can see that there's shared bike lanes at the narrow intersection. We have a crosswalk here for pedestrians. We have a connected sidewalk running on the west side of Irving Avenue. And once the width allows, we will have dedicated bike lanes as well. As you can see, kind of detailed in this pavement, in this exhibit, the reconstruction is going to stop just north of New Street, where the roadway is in much better shape, and it will just be a matter of restriping to allow one-way traffic and the bike lanes to York Street. All the signage will be changed along York Street to show that you can't turn southbound onto Irving, and everything will get restriped at the intersection. These asphalt parkways, as I mentioned, these will be torn out, landscaped, and trees planted to add to the appeal of the area, including kind of no man's land here, what's gravel shoulder now. But that's it. I also want to make sure we focus in here. You're going to see, hopefully, the resolution of this meeting allows. Again, if not, you can always email the clerk's office, and I'm also always available. Eric Alvarez with Robinson Engineering. I can, I'll give Randy has all my contact details if you want to contact me too. I want to make sure I show everybody here. What we're looking at now, these green lines are the property lines for the roadway. And the Irving Avenue, which used to be called Wabash Street, I believe, used to run directly north and south. And this swoop, this set of double curves here that bring the roadway to the west is a newer addition. And survey records don't actually indicate that this was ever dedicated for a highway. So if we cannot find the survey records, and Metro does not have the survey records dedicating this as a public highway, dedicating this will be part of the project. And then we should also show here, this is a construction material supply company here. I believe it's called George Rowland Sons. We will be requiring a sliver of the property here. And this is a kind of crude diagram, but in order to construct this sidewalk, we'll be requiring a little bit of this property here to actually construct the sidewalk. These temporary easements shown up here to construct driveway. Since this aerial and since this exhibit, I know that this has been paved, so this is going to be modified somewhat during phase 2, but I think it's good enough as a description of of the project. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom out once again so you all can get an idea of the overall project scope, which is between Vermont Street and York Street, reconstructing between Vermont Street and New Street, and restriping and posting new signs, beautifying the parkway between New Street and York Street. This is again the typical sections for the project showing northbound traffic, bike lanes on either side, and a sidewalk where there previously wasn't one. And again, the same. These are dedicated bike lanes. So once the roadway widens out just north of the intersection at Vermont Street, though, there will be dedicated bike lanes with the stripe buffer. And that's it. So that's the basis of the project. We're hoping to get phase 1 design approval before the end of the year and to keep it going. Again, if there's any questions, if there's any comments, feel free, please, to email us, call us, or send a letter. We have 5 days for this to become official public record in these meeting minutes, but even after that period, of course, we would always want to hear the public opinion on the project. And we are excited to get this going and think it'll be a great improvement, both for safety and utility at the intersection. So, Randy, that's about the end of the presentation. I might give you back control of the.
Okay.
Okay. If I can figure out how to do that. And I think you should have it now.